Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Attention all husbands. When your wife tells you that you snore, just say, "No, I don't, dear. I'm just dreaming I'm a motorcycle." Rum, rum, and away we go on a Tuesday. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on this Tuesday, October the 9th. Good morning. And a good morning to everybody out there in Radio Land. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations involved right now in a great big fall tire sale. Be sure and stop in and see them today. And don't forget all of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Always helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
I figured I'd do it on this rainy morning.
All right. Well, go ahead, please.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. Thank you very much. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast brought to everybody by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Roger and the crew get there early in the morning. They've been there for over an hour right now. Start at 7 o'clock in the morning on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122. And believe me, they've got the best of tools and equipment to finish any kind of a construction project. Don't forget they've got all the tillers for the gardens to work them up before the cold weather sets in and they freeze over. All the excavators, they've got it all for you at K&R Rental. All you need to do is call or stop in 678-3122. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Expect rain showers in the forecast for pretty much the entirety of today and tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Rain showers, 90% chance as we move through today. Winds out of the west, right around 9 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 50. Tonight, those rain showers are going to continue with a low of 37. By tomorrow, a chance of rain showers off and on throughout the day. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 48. 20% chance of showers by tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to Thursday, 20% chance of showers in the morning hours. Partly sunny skies by the afternoon, expecting a high of 52 with an overnight low of 29. And by Friday, sunny and 56. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
That a girl, Gina. Great job. Appreciate it. Brought to everybody by K&R Rental. And they are located at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Please get a hold of them today for the best of tools and equipment, 678-3122. Want to remind you, too, that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Yep, the sale that works for you at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Don't forget the telephone number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy serving you every week on Thursday. Sale time at 10 o'clock. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. This week, sale Thursday, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk a little bit this morning to kick off the program about the left. our fears that we need to have about the left in this country and the absolute crazy, damaging protests that are going on and have been going on prior to the election of Donald Trump, and now again with the nomination and securing his post on the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh. Some of these crazy, damaging protests have been by groups called Antifa and others, like what happened in Portland yesterday, where they blocked an intersection and started beating, thumping, and damaging cars trying to make their way home, to go to work, or to take their kids to possibly a basketball or football practice. This is absolutely ridiculous. One of the cars was damaged over $8,000 by a bunch of spoiled punks that know nothing and are absolutely paid thugs by the left. What are your thoughts? What would you do? Here's the question I want answered this morning. What would you do if you were in traffic and all of a sudden they started destroying your car and maybe even threatening your life? You're an innocent bystander trying to get to your job, trying to get to a certain destination. What would you do? I want that question answered this morning. Don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, and of course they get there early in the morning too to start cleaning all your clothes. Now, we've been taking our clothes in there for many, many years, and they are the best at what they do. I don't care if you want your Wranglers pressed, your sports shirts, ladies' dresses cleaned, whatever, and they also offer another service too, that if you don't have time to do the washing, you just take it into Daryl's. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mom used to do years ago. Well, they do a phenomenal job. So stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Absolutely the best. Caller, hang on. I'm going to be right with you. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Keep the get-out-of-jail-free card, though. And we're going to have Ramsey Heating and Electric come on right now at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. My goodness, all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And that's not brag, that's a fact. You get a hold of them today at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call is 678-0459. They get there early in the morning as I'm about ready to cough. Cough completed. 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, thank you for your call. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air. Wheels, do we have a connection on that line?
Yeah, we do. His radio's just turned up a little too high.
Well, he'd better turn it down then. Caller, good morning. One last time. You're on the air. Talk to me or I'm going to have to go on.
The only comment I got to say on that would be I have a right to protect myself and my property.
What would you do, though? I mean, you're talking about where you're subjected to being in a car where they're beating, thumping, destroying the outside exterior of your car, possibly breaking the windows. What are you going to do? You're going to sit there? What are you going to do?
No, I have a right to protect myself and my property.
And meaning what? You're going to drive off?
No, I'm not going to drive off. I'm going to stop. If I have to show, I meet force with force.
Well, you know, I don't mean to, I'm not questioning you, and I'm certainly not trying to pin you down, but what kind of force are you talking about? This kind of a situation...
If I have to get out and show a show of arms, that's what I'll do.
Now, I would say this.
I'm sorry. I've got to get off the phone, so I'll talk to you later.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, sir. A show of force. Well, I can't argue with him. One of the cars that was caught in that jam yesterday that Antifa was busting up, smashing up, the driver saw an opening, and he just stepped on the gas and went down through the intersection. Unfortunately, at that juncture, the light had turned red, and he stopped. Now, quite frankly, right at that point, I think I would have run the red light because all of these people were coming after him with crowbars and sticks and pieces of wood, metal, etc. I don't know why he was one of the picked-ons, but what would you do? I mean, there's a point where your property, like the man said, you've paid a lot of money for that car, you're paying your insurance, and then these punks, worthless leftist punks, in their protests, demanding certain things, are beating and destroying your property. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. This is what you call being between a rock and a hard place. Because if you try to plow through them people in the car, some of them are going to get injured, and you're probably going to go to jail for running over them.
Okay, now let me ask you a question there, Keith. And again, Wheels, we got a little bit of feedback there. You say you're a little skeptical about trying to move your car. You might hurt or injure one of the protesters. They're beating on your windshield, and they're trying to break the glass, which would damage and possibly very seriously injure you or your wife. And you're concerned about their health and welfare?
No, I'm not. But if you do that, you're going to get into a lot of trouble, and they know it. They know you're not going to do that. They'll stand right in front of your car and defy you. And that's what's really difficult about the whole deal.
Okay, but now what about the protection of your life and the protection of your health and welfare and your wife? It'd be no different whether it's you and your wife, my wife and I. You go to an intersection and these crazy thugs are destroying your car, and with the battering of the windshield trying to come in and possibly do damage to you. At that juncture, I have no concern for their health and welfare. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of there. I'm going to leave the scene, and so be it if someone gets run over, hit, or injured. You are getting away from an angry mob that is trying to hurt you. I don't care about the others.
I think that would be my first instinct to do that.
Why would you want to
think about it? I may do it differently.
Yeah, but thinking about it at a time of crisis, you don't have very much time. The reason I say this, I've talked to some people that have been involved in some of these mayhems, and they said that their first reaction was to sit there and hopefully, like a bad dream, these people will go away. No, they won't. They're out to damage, they're out to threaten, they're out to scare, and they're out to intimidate. You get out of that situation as fast as you can with any opening that's provided to you. If they're in the way, that's their fault.
I think that's probably what I would do. I would just think of the other alternatives, but there is none.
That's the key I'm trying to
there with your family.
That's the key I'm trying to talk about this morning. When they, the left, and these punks and thugs put you in a position to where you're an innocent person trying to go someplace to a destination, and they are a threat to your life, they're a threat to your health, there has to be a point where you react the same as you would in your house if somebody breaks in your house late at night and you grab a gun and a pistol or whatever the case might be. You have a right to protect yourself and your life. You get out of that situation.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Because if you do have a gun in your car, then I don't know. I don't carry a gun in my car. Hopefully I don't have that many enemies, and I don't go to places like you're talking about.
Well, Keith, wait a minute, though. Think about it this...
Here in Burley, Idaho.
Think about it this way, sir. You get out of your car, like the gentleman was stating a little earlier, and again, we're getting a little feedback here, Wheels. You get out of your car, and the first thing you've done is you've subjected yourself to no protection whatsoever. You are at the risk and the whim of what these people want. They're going to forget about the car. They're going to come after you. You stay in that car. That is your only protection, and you drive away. Now, if there's broken legs and there's someone injured, that is not your worry at that point. Your worry and concern is for you and your wife to escape a very bad, dangerous, and kind of a death-defying, if you will, interference with these people. You've got to get away from there.
If you have your family in your car, you definitely would just drive right through them.
I would.
I wouldn't even hesitate.
I would.
Like that.
Absolutely.
I was thinking of just myself in the car alone. Of the different alternatives.
No, it's not.
There's no alternative.
No, it's not an alternative. If I'm alone in my pickup or you're alone in your car, you have every right to protect yourself and get away from a life-threatening situation which these punks and thugs are causing. Drive away. Your life at that point is more important to you than anyone that's trying to do mayhem or do some damage to your vehicle.
I gotta agree with you, Zeb. Doggone it.
Okay. God bless you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I know I'm going to take a lot of heat over this, but I don't care. There has to be a point in time where these punks and thugs and these people that are bent on doing something criminal or damage to you, your vehicle, whatever, they have to learn this cannot go on. And there was a case, if you'll remember, a couple of years ago, where a man and his wife, I believe it was, or it might have been a young man and his girlfriend, I can't remember, they stopped and they sat there and they let these punks and thugs do all the damage, and he was dragged out of a vehicle and beaten, and she was molested, etc. I think it was back in New York, I want to say, or a suburb of New York. There is no way that you should ever subject yourself or your family to that kind of an attack. Caller, I'll be right there. I appreciate your call. Don't go away. Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Absolutely the best of food at America's Diner, serving you. And the location is right there, easy to find at 611 North Overland in Burley. They also have another one at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Thomas and his very efficient, friendly staff serving you. The menu choices are phenomenal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we're going to have our big Halloween party over there on October 25th. Don't miss it. Stop in. Denny's Restaurant, great food. Caller, I'll be right there. I promise. I got to pay some more bills. I want to tell everybody about Nick Greenwell and the great staff at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Now, if you've got an ache and a pain, or you're recouping from surgery, or maybe from an accident, maybe you're a football player in high school that got all beat up, dinged up, well, that's the place to go. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in this entire area. And with all the top-notch professional physical therapists, they can help you get back to being you. Don't forget, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. Caller, I appreciate your call. Go ahead, please.
You betcha, sir. Yeah, first off, the people, the politicians that are allowing this to happen and not denouncing it, they're the ones that's letting these people come out. The police need to step up and do their job. Tell the commissioners, tell the mayors to, hey, we're here to back the rule of law. You don't like the law, change it. And then on another point, if someone was to corner me in a vehicle, and my wife was in there and we was in danger, I would tell my wife, get your phone out, start the video, and then I would just mash it. I says, we're going to get out of here. They're going to hurt us, so I'm going to hurt them.
Yeah.
I don't care who I'd run over. I would feel bad about it, but they are the ones that's in the street trying to damage us or hurt us.
Let me give you another scenario that needs to be discussed at this juncture. I was on the phone with a friend of mine with the New York Police Department, New York City Police Department. And he was sharing with me a story about a couple that needed to get to the hospital. And the wife was absolutely not doing well, and the husband thought that she was having a heart attack and passed out in the car, etc. And they were blocked on, it was not the Brooklyn Bridge, I'm trying to think of the other name of the bridge that goes over towards Staten Island. But anyway, they were blocked by protesters and couldn't get through. Now, The person I was talking to said that they did everything to beg and plead to let them get through to get medical attention for his wife, and they laughed and they paraded around the car, etc., thumping on the car. At that point, Doug, their lives, their well-being, their health means absolutely nothing to me.
I'll stand right beside you on that, because I'll guarantee you, if they was to stop me and my wife was sick or thinking she was dying, I'll guarantee you there'd be the ambulance have come pick a bunch of them up, because we'd be at the hospital.
There are those on the left that are even right here in the Magic Valley that will criticize me for my absolutely archaic thoughts and demonstrate to me with their vile emails and their calls after the program. They don't have the guts to call during the show. And they'll say, oh, you have no respect for human life. You have no caring for your fellow man. No, I don't. When it comes to me and my wife, my family, I put that first.
Exactly. And they would do the same if they were in a similar situation. It's just that they are not brave enough, or I don't want to say man enough, but that's what you say, to admit it.
Well, we're going to be seeing a lot more of these protests, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of these protesters demanding things at traffic jams, etc. And then there was another item that came up this morning, Doug, and it was raised at 4:30 this morning by Tommy Lauren. You know who she is. And she's a spokesman for conservatives, and she said that she was very afraid, and I even hesitated this morning to mention this on the program, because you don't want to give these kooks and crackpots any more fodder to think about. But she was very concerned that much of what happens over in Europe with the throwing of acid on innocent people might be picked up and subjected to people here in this country. And I absolutely cringed. I thought about not even mentioning that this morning, but it's happening in other parts of the world from these protesters that are trying to demand their way, and who cares who gets hurt.
Yeah, and that's a scary part. That is very scary. I mean, these people are mentally ill who think that's how you rule a country.
Well, I don't know. I've got to interrupt you right there. I'm not so sure it's mentally illness at all. I think it's a paid job for a lot of these people. It's a paid position for a lot of these punks. And when I say that, you're talking about the Soros influence on these people to go out and represent the left, absolutely tear apart the constitutional people that believe in law and government, and do everything they can to try to disrupt and create chaos.
Well, this is true, too. But the ones that believe it, that think this is the way, I mean... Yeah. These people aren't thinking right.
Well, we live in scary times, my friend, and if I think the naivete of what's here in this valley. Drive to Twin Falls. Go to Twin Falls. And look at the growth. Look at the congestion. Look at the people that are coming in. Burley is right there in second place with a lot of growth coming into this area. We are not immune to people that are going to start demanding their way. We're not immune to thinking Salt Lake is eons away. Boise is eons away. And this kind of leftist thinking and protesting is something we'd better consider what we're going to do to protect our family.
Exactly. And these people that are moving to Idaho because they're leaving areas and states that is going bankrupt because the Democrats have run it into the ground with their tax and spend deal. Now they're coming to Idaho because Idaho is fiscally responsible, but yet they're bringing their leftist ideas with them that put their area down. When they come here, they need to assimilate into Idaho. They need to start acting like Idahoans because that's what they are, and they need to start thinking like Idahoans where you pay your bills and you don't tax and spend. You try to save money.
Well, you're looking at situations right now across the United States to where Portland's 700 miles away. And they are protesting the Electoral College. They are protesting Brett Kavanaugh. They are protesting Donald Trump. They are protesting any of the trade agreements. They're protesting anything and everything. And don't think, audience, that this kind of chaos, this kind of absolute uncontrol is not going to happen here. It very easily can, and it will. I'm very concerned about what's going to happen with our school children. I'm very concerned about what's happening with the thought that they're not going to honor after the next election the winners of those elections. There's going to be more protests. There's going to be more chaos. What are we going to do?
Well, we're going to stand up. We're going to go to the ballot box. And if you want mob rule, just stay home.
Yeah.
Because you'll be electing a Democrat if you stay home. If you believe in government and you believe that President Trump is taking this country in the right direction, then by George, you better get to the poll and let it be known.
Well, Doug,
once we take over the Senate and the House again, then I know they're going to start their mob rule and they're start disavow, but these people are starting for a revolution, and eventually they're going to wake up a bear that's going to turn around and bite them.
The thing that bothers me is I don't care if you just graduated from high school or if you've been out of high school like I have almost 50 years. You've got to sit and realize that these people want to destroy the Electoral College. Now, let's talk about that for a quick second. You destroyed the Electoral College, you might as well take the state of Idaho and just take a big eraser and erase it from anything that has anything to do with national politics. The same being for Wyoming, the same being for Montana, the same being for Utah, etc. They're going to take away the people's vote, and they're going to turn this thing into where the populace of L.A., Chicago, New York, etc. is going to be the ruling interest for all this country. They want to take away the Electoral College because then they would have more power. It's things like this that they're protesting for. They want to control all people. Hillary even came out and said she'd like to see a change in the senatorial numbers where the larger states and populations have more representation. That ought to scare you to death.
It does, and they do have representation. Look at the House. The House is by population. The Senate is by states. That's a fair one. I mean, you got 2 senators for every state. That's exactly how it should be. But no, they want to turn this country upside down. They want to come into socialism. They want mob rule. They want 51% of the people to take away 100% of our rights. And that's not right.
And it goes back to the simple question that I asked earlier this morning. I don't care if you're in Boise, Idaho, Salt Lake, Twin Falls, wherever. What are you going to do when these crazy punk thug mobs surround you, demanding and protesting and jeopardizing your life? And if you don't think it's not going to come here, you're naive and you're living with your head under a rock.
Exactly. What I would do, there's 2 pedals down there. I've got an automatic. I don't have a standard. There's a pedal to stop and there's a pedal to go. If they surround my vehicle and start hitting it, I'm going to push down on the pedal to go.
There's no question I agree with your philosophy because anyone that would say, and I want to reiterate this, if you say, well, I'm going to get out and confront those and I'm going to do this and that. No, you're not. Let's really be honest. When you're confronted with 30, 40, 50 of these people or more that are beating and demanding and scaring you and your spouse or your family members to death, you get out of that situation. Not out of the vehicle, you get away as fast as you can. And the devil be damned if anybody gets hurt because that's their problem, not yours.
They're the ones in the street. That's the way I look at it. So,
Doug, appreciate your call.
Let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's rent their facilities. Go have lunch there. You will have the time of your life, and you will really be enlightened. God bless.
I appreciate you, Doug. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts. Partner, hold on. I'll be right with you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. There's a good old boy. And then Eli at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls. And the Nampa location, they've got everything from those great big Doosan loaders all the way to all the Bobcats. They've got all shapes and sizes. And by the way, on Bobcats, they've got 0% interest right now for 60 months. Check it out. Get in there today. For sale or lease, I'm telling you, the best Berry equipment and rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. The very best of equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay with me just a second. I also want to remind everybody about Lennox. Absolutely, with our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Don't forget, they want you to stay comfortable and possibly save you money. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering up to $1,600 in rebates, so you call them today on qualifying equipment purchases. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Over 60 years of serving you. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
You betcha. Good morning, Zeb. You know, I agree with everything you and Doug were talking about. I have something else that we are raising a society of illiterate imbeciles. I don't understand why they think that it's going to prove anything by protesting and trying to harm other people. I'm fully in agreement with protesting if you really believe in it, but be peaceful about it. Don't encroach on anybody else's personal space. Don't do harm to property or lives. I don't know why. I don't understand. I guess it's just not in my realm of thinking. They have no regard for anybody or anything but themselves.
Well, Donna, that's the world we live in, and it's not a world of sitting down and negotiating. It's not a world of where you and I, if we were diametrically opposed on issues, that we could sit there and we could say, okay, now you believe this and I believe that, but now let's see if we can't find some common ground in the middle, and we'll work from there, and then we'll see if we can't solve this problem. Their problem is they don't believe in any common ground. They want their way. They're being paid to get their way, which is chaos and absolute insurrection. And this is where we've got to draw a line in the sand. It's very serious. I've talked to many people in Chicago, and people in Chicago are scared to death to go to a Cubs game or maybe go to a Bears game at Soldier Field because they're not sure of their situation. They're not sure about the gang activity. They're not sure about all the shootings, the violence, and the chaos. And no one, I don't care if it's Murtaugh, Idaho, or Chicago, Illinois, no one should be subjected to that and be afraid to be a part of their community.
No, I totally agree. And, you know, this garbage about blocking roads and all that, and, you know, they know that you're not going to hurt them. Well, I've got to tell you something. If they tried to block me from getting to where I needed to be, or if they threatened or put a baseball bat into my truck, that Hemi would be put in the lower gear and they'd be run over.
Well, and there are those in the audience right now that are saying, well, shame on those people. Why? They're talking about hurting someone. Listen, you do not know absolutely what's in the mind and the fervor of these people when they're carrying a baseball bat or a tire iron and they're destroying your vehicle. You don't sit there and go to your wife, oh, gee, dear, I think they'll stop soon. No, you get out of there in any way you can.
Yeah, because if they get inside, God only knows what they do. And you know what? I treasure my life and the life of my loved ones and my friends. I'm not an advocate of violence. I try to do the peaceful way. You back me into a corner, somebody's going to get hurt.
I would say this. I would much rather heal up from maybe an injury or two and leaving the scene than I would have 6 of my friends carrying me to lay me in the ground. That's the way I feel.
I'm right there with you. But if we as a people don't start standing up and teaching our children This next generation has no idea what freedom is, and it's just going to get worse. If we don't stand up as parents and a civilization, God help us. If we don't vote these people out of office, God help us.
Well, you just said the three words that are being ignored by the public here in America. God help us. We forgot that.
Yeah.
I got to run. Thank you. Appreciate it. I've got a couple of things I need to say real quick, and then we're going to take that next call. Caller, don't you dare go away. I'll look forward to having you on the air. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on over in Jerome. This is going to be a really, really good sale, and the reason I'm stuttering and stammering here for a minute is I can't find my notes on this, and I'm looking quickly, and all of a sudden I found it. Voila. The special feeder cattle sale is going to be at Producers Livestock on Saturday, October 20th. Good friend of mine, Dan Schiffer, called and said, hey, man, this is going to be a choice cattle sale only. Choice cattle only. No dairy or dairy cross cattle. And call for consignment information. You call Dan Schiffer at 539-4933. I'll say it again, 539-4933. Or you can call Producers Livestock Office, 324-4345. You know you got to hang the 208 on the front of that. Producers Livestock, great sale. Special feeder cattle sale coming up on Saturday, October 20th. Don't you miss it in Jerome. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Kavanaugh kept talking about the problem. And the problem is, if you defended yourself, you are guilty before you are even proven innocent. Now, where I grew up with, we had troublemakers come into the neighborhood. They would never come back, because they meant violence, and we didn't fool with them. But what's going on today, a person is in fear of their life and losing all their property, because if they defend themselves, the criminal will end up turning around and suing them, suing these people that are trying to defend their own property and their own lives.
Tony, you grew up on the East Coast, and you know some of the hazards and dangers that can occur in the big city and the big metropolitan areas. And I'm going to ask you the same thing with you and your lovely wife. What would you have done, being that you were cornered and trapped in some of these Antifa gatherings, these thugs and punks destroying automobiles, endangering people's lives? What would you do?
Well, I can tell you what a CHP man told me one time. He says, because I used to carry a gun in my car, even back there in California. He says, somebody breaks your window, you shoot him. And that's the way it would be. Now, if I had a way to escape before I had to shoot somebody, I would do it. But if somebody broke into my car and they're going to reach in and then unlock the door, goodbye, baby, because I carry a gun no matter where I go now.
Well, I just think that...
I might be wrong, but...
No. I don't think you are wrong. I think that we have to take a proactive stance on these problems. I have had talked to many people that are of the volition that we should just sit there and take it, kind of the liberal mindset of, oh, gee, maybe they'll go away. It's kind of like saying, I went to the doctor and found out that you have cancer, and the attitude of, oh, gee, maybe it'll go away. Well, no, you have to be proactive. You have to take an offensive stance, not a defensive stance. And Tony, right now in this country, we have to go on the offense, because we have some very detrimental sources operating in this country that want to take us down and put us in a third world status. We've got to fight back.
Well, I see what's happening in Twin Falls, and the same thing took over our town, the city I was born in New York, and I see it happening here.
I totally agree with what you're
further on that.
Totally agree with what you're saying, my dear friend, and I appreciate it. And by the way, please tell me that your wife is healing up from her accident and she's doing better.
Well, she took a shot at me this morning, so I know she's feeling.
Oh my goodness, are you all right? Did you hide behind that couch for 3 hours?
Well, she's out of her cast, and she's right back to her old ways again.
And hopefully you're out of range.
I can still run.
Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. We're going to do a weather forecast. Caller, I know you're hanging in there, hanging on by the knot, but stay there. I'll be right back. I want to remind everybody about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They help me, and they can help you. They're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and the number to call, 312-0957. The best. Absolutely helping you with all of your hearing health care. So I urge you to call them today and make an appointment, 312-0957. Right now, the lovely Gina has the best comprehensive weather forecast ready for you.
Expect rain showers in the forecast for pretty much the entirety of today and tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Rain showers, 90% chance as we move through today. Winds out of the west, right around 9 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 50. Tonight, those rain showers are going to continue with a low of 37. By tomorrow, a chance of rain showers off and on throughout the day. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 48. 20% chance of showers by tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to Thursday, 20% chance of showers in the morning hours. Partly sunny skies by the afternoon, expecting a high of 52 with an overnight low of 29. And by Friday, sunny and 56. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Excellent job on the weather forecasting right now. Oh, boy, it's soggy out there. It's going to slow the spud digging down quite a bit. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They present all the treatment options with scientific reasoning, always behind their recommendations, and they can and will help you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Caller, you have waited long enough. God bless you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of something. I hope Gina does not show up at Lunch Bunch with her Wonder Woman costume. It will rain on my parade.
No, whoa, just a minute, Mr. Cottom. Why would I think it'd be excellent to have Gina in that Wonder Woman costume come to Lunch Bunch? As a matter of fact, now knowing that, I'm going to give her a special invitation to be our honored guest.
No, I want to hog the spotlight. I want to.
Let me tell you something, partner. If it comes to you or Gina being in the spotlight, guess where my eyes are going to go?
I love Gina.
Okay.
But anyway, back to what we were really talking about. Back in the Old West, we had vigilantes, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. What are your feelings about something like that?
No, I'm not even going to advocate anything like vigilante justice. I'm talking about protecting you and your family. And in the old days, we were a lot better at that than what we are today. There wasn't. Look at the Matt Dillon philosophy, if you will, on a fictitious Western TV show. You're protecting yourself and your family. There is nothing done to you. The law comes and accepts the fact that you are doing as a protectionist for your family and your property. They leave you alone. We've got to get back to that, Keith. And quite frankly, like I said earlier this morning, when you're put in a dangerous, hazardous, life-threatening situation to where someone or groups of someones are trying to destroy your property and possibly hurt you and your family, you get out of there, regardless of the risk of health damage to the people that are perpetrating the crime. Don't worry about them. Get out of there.
You talk about being bulletproof. Matt Dillon at 93 didn't have a mark on his body.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, you're there, and we're here. Go ahead.
Good morning. Is that me?
Joe, I hope so, or I'm talking to a dead line. How's the yummy man this morning?
Just fine. I want to invite everybody out to the Senior Junction for lunch today. We're having biscuits and gravy, hash browns, sausage, bacon, full course, all you can eat.
What's the yummy dessert?
Well, I don't know. We're going to have yummy dessert. That's the best I can tell you.
All right. In other words, you are going to make sure that you're going to provide ice cream sundaes for everybody.
whatever.
All right.
It's going to be good, and if you need a takeout, just call in, and it'll be ready for you when you get there.
Absolutely. That's at the Senior Junction on Overland in Burley. Joe, the Yummy Man, thank you, sir. God bless you. Appreciate your call.
Appreciate you and all that you do for the seniors.
All right, sir. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Thank you. Go.
You know, Zep, just a quick thing. Tell everybody to drive safely because the water on the road with that beat dirt and spud dirt makes for slick driving. So just thought about that as I had to put on my brakes to stop for some trucks and such. And, you know, we're not used to this rain since June or so.
I forgot what it was. The last rain we've had of any magnitude was back, I think, on June 17th or 18th. And what you just said about the slippery conditions when you go near, like spud cellars and everything, oh my goodness, up about 1.5 miles to the west of me on the curve, there is absolutely, and nobody can help it, it's a lot of mud, and boy, when you hit that in rainy conditions, the whole world takes on a different perspective when you think you're looking south, but all of a sudden you're looking east.
I know it. People have to be as careful with mud or more so than ice.
I want to ask you...
I'll let you go.
No. I want to ask you a question before you go, please. It's very important. You've been listening to the program this morning, and I'd like to get your response about what you would do if you're put in a life-threatening, dangerous situation with these protesters. What would you do?
You know, unfortunately, I think those that are caught in unfortunate situations are caught not necessarily prepared. If they're blocking roads, it's because these people are headed to work and they're headed to a hospital or they're headed to the grocery store. Not many of us go out prepared for something like that. So I think it's different if you're in a situation like that rather than if somebody comes down your hallway. If they come down my hallway, they're going to hear a very descriptive sound, and it would pretty much deter anyone. If I were caught in my car, and I do agree with the one gentleman, I do carry, but you know what? I think you would be taken off guard, and I'm not exactly sure what I would do in a situation like that. Obviously, defend my family, certainly, and myself, but I think sometimes we are taken so quickly off guard that we are shocked at our response.
Very well stated, but I will tell you this. I will tell you this, my dear lady, that don't think I'm trying to be theatrical, but these type of things are going to grow in enormity across this country, and we are not immune. We are not immune.
I hate to even go to the movie. I don't think I'll find myself at a concert anymore. I don't like flying much anymore, but just because of the situations that have happened across the world, let alone the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an unrest that we aren't used to.
Well stated, and would you please do me a favor and call me more often? I enjoy having you on the program. Thank you so much.
Well, I was supposed to finish a conversation that I started yesterday, but I'll do that another time.
I hope you do. God bless you. And I'm almost out of time this morning, but I thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
I want to remind everybody, Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors, 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Holly, you have hit a home run. This is absolutely phenomenal. Helping seniors that want to stay at home. Listen, daily tasks and meal preparation, maybe light housekeeping, errands, companionship. They really want to help the seniors stay at home. This is a wonderful idea. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors, 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Number to call, 312-5715. 312-5715. Wheels, Gina, whomever's over there, I apologize. I can't remember if you signaled me for another call. If there's another one waiting, I'll take it quickly. I can't remember.
Oh, no, you're all right, sir, if you need to do...
I'm all right. Oh, man, I've been waiting to hear those words for a long time. I'm all right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I will say this to sum up before I do my last ad. The November election is extremely important. And I'm going to tell you this probably almost every day up until the voting day. If you don't vote and you don't care enough about the safety and security of our country, and you want the lowlifes in office or being represented by others that absolutely stand behind all this chaos, then we deserve what we get. Please put it on your calendar and go vote in November. We have got to restore some safety and sanity back into this great country. Want to remind you quickly about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations celebrating a great fall tire sale. This is where you can save money and drive safely. Don't forget they've got sale tires for your car, your pickup, your SUVs, your trailers, every kind of driving need. Stop in and see them today. Along with the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. Oh, you better get your batteries checked. It's going to get a heck of a lot colder in the morning, and when you turn that key, you might not go to work. Check your batteries. They've got the best of batteries available for you. At all 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, great folks, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. They are absolutely the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I've got to run, and the news next from CBS, and then we're going to come back with Frosty Woldridge and talk about 22 million illegal aliens here, and nobody's doing anything about it. We'll see you back in 7. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2 on a rainy, kind of chilly, not spud digging weather. I'll tell you what, a lot of things are closed and shut down today out in the farming world because of this rain, but we do need the moisture. Morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale right now. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, we're going to listen to this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, they are always at your disposal, and don't forget they've got the Go Minis, those portable storage units. You can have them bring one to your place. You can fill it up, lock it up. You can store it there, or they'll take it back and lock it up on their property. Absolutely a great service and extra storage with the Go Minis, portable storage units from Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Once again, a reminder about our dear friends at your great folks, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Very proud to offer service you can trust along with Lennox products, and they're offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. So find out more. Call them at 678-0459 or be sure and stop in 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric, over 60 years of service to you. Real quick, before we go to our dear friend back in Colorado, Frosty Woldridge, I want to remind you about our friends that really take care of your livestock, your pets, your dogs, your dairy cattle, everything. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh my goodness, large and small animal practice, mixed animal practice to make sure that they take care of your animals and keep them healthy. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew at a veterinary hospital that many, many times has been named Minnecache's best. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. Oh, it's true. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Well, I don't know if his nose is cold, and I certainly don't know if he's got any snow on the ground back in Golden, Colorado, but good morning to a dear, dear friend, Frosty Woldridge. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb, and a happy good morning to you, and I want to congratulate everyone and the U.S. Constitution. First of all, I want to congratulate Susan Collins, the senator from Maine, who made one of the most brilliant constitutional speeches. I would encourage everyone listening today to go onto YouTube and or onto Facebook and or any other arena and get a hold of the speech by Susan Collins from Maine, who just really brought one of the most brilliant constitutional speeches to the U.S. Senate that I've heard in 50 years. Also, the incredible speech by Tucker Carlson on Fox News, as he just really brought the reality of what we're facing in this country when somebody, an accuser, can make somebody completely guilty by emotions rather than facts and supported evidence. It's been one hell of a week, and I saw the Kavanaugh induction into the Supreme Court just last night, and I'm proud to say that a man of caliber and a man of ethics and a man of a quality life is now sitting on the Supreme Court. So this is exciting, Zeb, because these are crazy times. But everyone, please watch and listen to the Senator Susan Collins of Maine's speech on the floor of the Senate, and you will see that America is starting to turn back to becoming again America, and that's exciting to me.
You know, Frosty, I'm glad you brought that up about Susan Collins, because she is not without any controversy this morning, and she is not without her complainers, if you will. This poor woman, Susan Collins, is under attack by the liberal left right now, and there are many that are planning on meeting her demise come the next election, including a woman that I absolutely have no respect for, and that's Susan Rice. She said she might run against Susan Collins. I listened to the speech in its entirety. I listened to every one of her points, and I thought, better than any lawyer, she went through every of the qualifying points and laid it out for Brett Kavanaugh and why she was going to vote for him. And yet, after the speech was given, there were the feminists that said she was not a pro-feminist, and they started railing and hailing after her to leave office and denigrating her, etc. The left is totally out of control, Frosty, my friend.
Well, they certainly are, because, the one thing that I appreciated from Martha McCallum on Fox News, and I watched her particular segment yesterday because there was a lot of back and forth on this thing, is there should have been no question of whether Susan Collins was a male senator or a female senator. What she gave was a neutral, highly just an extraordinary speech on the Constitution. This went far beyond the Kavanaugh confirmation by Susan Collins into the realm of, hey, either we have a constitutional republic where the bedrock is you are innocent until proven guilty, and that calmer minds and rational minds and proof and support and evidence are maintained, or you have people screaming in the streets with nothing but emotions on their side and prejudicial, violence and emotions. Those are not part of the rule of law. Emotions cannot be ever a part of the rule of law, and I think Susan Collins did a fantastic job of bringing that to the forefront. And somebody like Susan Rice, again, is somebody who's just bringing the emotions to the forefront, and that simply will not work in a constitutional republic, which is thus far in the history of the world the most outstanding governance on the planet.
Frosty, I wanted to talk to you this morning about an issue that it seems like we've been friends for almost 20 years. And of all the books that you've written, and all the times on this program, all the visits here at Zeb at the Ranch, we have talked about illegal aliens and the coming into our country and assuming a dominance and a almost we're here, you can't do anything about it attitude. Last night, again, the numbers were solidified somewhat that over 22 million illegal aliens are here in this country. And I watched and listened to a segment on Tucker Carlson last night to where an attorney that is an illegal alien himself, absolutely with a smirk on his face, was saying they're going to stay here, they're not going to leave, and they're demanding the right to vote in our country. What in the you-know-what is going on with our senators and congressmen and the rule of law that we would allow such foolishness?
Well, if you all will go to part 2 of Can We Solve What's Happening to America, it's at newswithviews.com right now, and was featured yesterday on News with Views, and also it's going out to 20 other news service websites. That is exactly what's happening, is that they had an interview with an African-American lady in Chicago just this last week, and she said Rahm Emanuel and people like de Blasio in New York City, and certainly the mayor of San Francisco, and also the mayors of all these big cities, plus all the mayors of over 240 sanctuary cities, are serving illegal aliens and all of their interests over that of American citizens, and certainly African American citizens, which are taking the brunt of the job crisis, because these illegal aliens are driving the wages down so much so that African Americans in Chicago can't even make a decent living, and that Rahm Emanuel is protecting all of these illegal aliens from prosecution and or from ICE raids, the same in San Francisco and L.A., and now the facts have come out that because the senators and the House reps in the United States Congress have not been doing their jobs, they have been not enforcing the laws, and neither has the last number of presidents, and even this president can't enforce the laws because the judges are of liberal bent, are literally nullifying his executive orders. We have lawlessness being mandated and supported by governors like in Minnesota, and governors in New York, and Cuomo there in New York City, and certainly in Illinois, the governor, and certainly the mayor of Chicago, the same thing, and Jerry Brown in California. They are facilitating lawlessness and absolutely help to incorporate it. And the new figures are not the bogus 11 million illegals in this country. It's somewhere between 22 and 25 million now, as you have seen on all the news reports. And so, yes, they're pretty smirkish, these illegal aliens, because they're gaining such great numbers that they can absolutely defy the law, and they're starting to move into our cities and becoming an endemic part of the process. And now they're demanding legalization through voting and driving and all that goes with that. What we're doing is losing our country to this illegal invasion, and nobody's doing anything about it. But in fact, people like Jerry Brown and de Blasio and Rahm Emanuel are supporting all this illegality, and that means we're literally starting to become a third world country where the law means nothing.
Frosty, we have a caller with a question and a comment, and then I've got a whole litany of things we have to go over this morning. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I appreciate all of Frosty's work. And what's happening, of course, here locally in the town of Wendell, we have whooping cough. And even PBS, the liberal radio network that we all pay taxes to support, has admitted that the illegals are bringing in all kinds of diseases, and whooping cough's at the top of the list. So I'd like him to comment about that along with everything else.
You know, Adrian, I'm glad you called on that this morning, because I have a comment on that I'd like to make also to Frosty. Thank you for your call and your thoughts. I appreciate that. Frosty, what he's talking about is absolutely something we need to discuss this morning about the diseases coming into this country. I heard a report 2 days ago, and I'm doing some follow-up on this, that in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the surrounding area, They have found 4 cases of a polio-type paralysis that's coming in, and I am shuddering in my waking hours, worrying and praying that it's not going to be a resurgence of polio coming back into the United States or anywhere in the world. But they have found 4 cases of paralysis. Your thoughts?
Well, actually, they've got new 8 cases, and I followed up on that myself. But here's another thing that you all have to really understand. There are 120,000 Somalian Africans now in Minneapolis, and they're creating their own borough. And you have to understand, these people, again, I want to make this very clear. They have a 68 IQ, which is very, very little, it's just barely above retarded. So the illiteracy rates and the sanitation rates of these Somalians, they came out of the jungles of Somalia, never used a toilet, never used a bar of soap, never used a shower, never used any kind of sanitation whatsoever, and now they're in our midst. Well, over in Europe, and I want you to understand this, of course, they had just took in 1.5 million to 2 million Africans and Middle Easterners who never used toilet paper, don't know how to use a toilet, and have never been in a sanitized and certainly a first world country, are now invading Europe, and they're now finding that they're having new cases of different kinds of worms, viruses, certainly malaria. Of course, we now have Chagas coming into this country from Mexico and South America as they move up from South America. So there's no question the whooping cough is going to be the least of our problems, not that it's the least of our problems, but we are going to have more injections, if you will, through these immigrants, because there's no way to screen them, even if they come here legally, let alone all the illegals that are coming in at over 500,000 per year. I get that again. 500,000 illegals are coming across our borders every year from around the world, and our Congress won't put a wall up. It won't stop it because of the fact that these Congress people up there in Congress, all 535 of them, are literally corrupt. They're career corrupt politicians. And so we're going to be sitting here with all of these diseases. And these diseases are going to get nastier because we're bringing people in from Africa with diseases that we don't even know anything about. West Nile disease came in from Africa, and now we got to deal with that. And now this new strain of polio coming in, the whooping cough coming in. Folks, you need to start calling your Congress and Senate people and saying we need a complete shutdown on all immigration into this country, or we're going to see these outbreaks in our own communities right there in Idaho, across this country. It's happening all here in Denver the same way where I'm living, and it's all because we're being forced to take in all these refugees who are bringing all of these diseases, and unfortunately all the kind of illiteracy that promotes these diseases because of the lack of sanitation practices by these people coming from Africa and the Middle East.
You know, it's one thing to talk about the diseases, and no one, and I mean this and I'm very forceful on this, no one can tell me anything about polio that I don't know, of course, being a polio survivor. But to see the resurgence of that dreaded disease with a polio-type paralysis, it scares me because of the naivete of our American public. People don't know the devastation, nor are they educated enough to understand that we can't see another pandemic like that happen in this country. Frosty, this is very, very scary.
Well, Zeb, it's more than scary, because if this new kind of a polio strain is like an MDR, a multi-drug resistant kind of polio strain, then you're going to see all sorts of victims, American citizens, become victims of this new strain of polio. And what will it take to finally cure that new strain of polio? It could take years. And so, as you said, a pandemic could occur. And again, you're seeing all of these illegals come across this border, and the legals, at 1.7 million annually. That's 1.7 million vector carriers. A vector, of course, is a human being that's carrying the disease. So we're seeing all of these vectors come in the bodies of all these immigrants, both legal and illegal, and there's no way to screen them because these diseases are really sneaky. These diseases are new threads of diseases. These are aberrant manifestations of these diseases, new threads, if you will, and we're just becoming collateral damage, and it's all being caused because this Congress will not allow this president to cut. I mean, Cotton down there in Arkansas, Senator Cotton said, let's cut all immigration to less than half, bring it down to less than 500,000 per year. Of course, I've said for years, bring it down to nothing because we don't need any more immigrants. And as I've said, these people in all these world countries are adding 80 million new babies, net gain every year, so they are not helping themselves. So the line never ends. And in the end, we drive our country into the same consequences as those people that are fleeing their own countries, and that is too many people that cannot be sustained, and the diseases are rampant, and now they're coming into our country at a rampant rate of speed.
You know, it's not just the diseases that I want to talk about. It's also the smirkness, the smugness, the absolute in-your-face attitude like what I saw last night. Hey! We're here. You can't do a thing about it, Mr. American taxpayer. We're here, and we're going to demand all the certain amenities that you have, and we're going to demand that we vote. I'm telling you, in very simple, plain English, Frosty, I was so mad I about destroyed my 60-inch television last night with a Tony Lama boot right in the middle of it. I am fed up with that smugness attitude. We're here. You can't do a thing about it.
Well, and as a matter of fact, as long as your two senators and my two senators, which have F minus, go look at numbersusa.org, and you'll see that both your senators have an F minus as far as immigration. My two senators, Cory Gardner, a Republican, and certainly Michael Bennett, the Democrat, have F minuses as to immigration. In other words, they're not serving our country. They're not serving your state. Mike Kaufman, my House rep, doesn't do a damn thing about immigration, both legal and illegal, and he's been in for over 15 years. He's a colonel in the United States Marine Corps, and yet he won't serve as a congressman who stands up like Tom Tancredo did and says enough is enough. And the fact is, folks, Spanish is now becoming literally mainstream here in Denver. Every business has answering machine on the telephone that comes out in Spanish first. You get to choose Spanish, or then you get to choose English. And of course, in Detroit, Michigan, you get to choose Arabic, and then you get to choose Spanish, and then you get to choose English as a third choice. And so, yeah, and then you go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, go to all these different stores, and you're seeing everything in Spanish, signage in Spanish, and every product is put into Spanish. And so, yeah, we're losing our national language. And as I've said in my books, like America on the Brink, the next added 100 million Americans, when you change or you lose the cohesive aspect of language for a country, you lose the culture, you lose the ethos, and you lose the cohesiveness that binds that country together, because language is the key to holding a society together. And once you start having multiple languages, just like multiculturalism, you have multiple ways of looking at the world and opposite ways of looking at the world, and then you start having the society pull apart at the seams, and that's what's happening to America right now.
Frosty, I'm going to ask you to give me 60 seconds for my commercial break. I'm going to hold you over, if you would, sir, just for a couple of extra minutes. So stay tuned. I'm going to have much more with Frosty Woldridge. I want to remind everybody about our dear friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. 459 Overland in Burley, with the window coverings 40% off, and closeout on certain mattresses, and special prices on furniture. I said yesterday, if you need a new recliner, this is the place to go. What a great selection. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. They know you're going to be spending more time indoors right now in the living room, the kitchen, etc. in the house. Why not enjoy the comfort and the beautification of your home? Thanks to these great people that really know all about furniture and carpeting and everything regarding the interior of your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, too, our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. Number to call, number to remember, 436-5636. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are always there. Always there with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity, serving you and your family. Please call that number and get the information we all should have on pre-planning of funerals to eliminate a lot of the stress and the worry for our families. Hanson Mortuary, 436-5636, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Frosty, I am just absolutely at the end of the rope, holding on to the knot this morning with my temper regarding a lot of subjects. I went through and started finding different stories of the left, the filthy, vile left, and their out-of-control thuggery, and what they're doing. Like in Portland yesterday, they had an Antifa attack on innocent people trying to drive to work, beating and shattering windows of their cars, causing one car over $8,000 damage. And then I heard about your senator from Colorado, Cory Gardner's wife, receiving violent messages of beheading and death because they being the left, didn't get their way on the Kavanaugh nomination. This world is at a point right now, this country is at a point right now where I'm afraid to say this, but I'm going to come right out and be blunt. We've got to start knocking heads, taking names, and starting to restore law and order, or this country's going to go down.
Well, I've said this many years now. You and I have spoken about it. We can either accept what's coming on right now as our country is being changed against our will and against our ethos and against our religious foundation and against our Constitution, or if we accept this thing and we just let it continue and multiculturalize and diversify ourselves to death, or with that, if we accept that, we are going to be degraded into a third world country. That is a fact. I'll stand on that. And I think all of you know me well enough. My heart is good. I'm an all-American boy. I care about America. I care about every person in America that's a legal American citizen. And I care about the future of our children. And I care about our environment. And I care about our quality of life. And if we allow this continued migration of all these immigrants, both legal and illegal, we will be degraded into a third world country where everybody is fighting for water, fighting for energy, paying the cost of this population explosion and the welfare. We're paying for millions and millions of people who have no ability to work because they have no education or they have a very low intellectual horsepower, and so they can't be trained, they can't be guided, they can't be uplifted because they simply can't function in a first world country. They don't have the skills other than sweeping a floor or driving a taxi. How many can we employ doing that? And the redundant jobs pretty soon are being taken over by robots, both in the agricultural arena and everywhere else. And so we either do something about that, and as you say, we start kicking butt and taking names later. We need to enforce the immigration laws of this country against illegals and start kicking them out, starting in Maine, and going after the employers. And it's a $2,000 fine and up to 5 years in prison for any employer employing an illegal alien. And then sweep all the way from Maine with ICE, and I mean employ all of the ex-military to join ICE and pay them well and start going after them all the way to San Francisco and L.A., drive all the illegals out of our country, and then maintain the rule of law and give our citizens the right to these jobs, give our citizens the right to a living wage for these jobs, and then bring back, again, the rule of law, and that starts with the 535 congressional critters who are not doing that. And if they aren't doing that in your area, then vote somebody in that's going to adhere to the laws. Stapleton here and Tim Neville in Denver, Colorado, right now running for governor and running for state senator, said, I will stop the sanctuary cities in Denver and the state of Colorado and in these areas around Denver. So I'm voting for those two, Stapleton for governor, and because Jared Polis is a sanctuary guy, just like Hickenlooper. So I'm voting against Jared Polis, and I'm voting for Stapleton. I'm voting for Tim Neville because he knows the value of the rule of law. So you've got to have the same thing happening there in Idaho, or otherwise, folks, this tendency, this trend is going to continue. And as I told you just earlier this year, do you want to see another 10 million people added to Idaho? Because if you don't do anything, there will be 10 million more people added to Idaho within the next 20 to 30 years. That's a fact, and either we change it by our actions or we grumble and complain and do nothing, and it just simply comes on us like it's coming on us right now.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to go into one more subject here, and I've only got, keep in mind, Frosty, I've only got about 7 minutes left. I'm going to extend this segment. What is it, and I'm sure you've probably written about this, and I've written about it in some of my blogs, but what is it with white people, Caucasians, like billionaire Tom Steyer's, a white man that is coming out and condemning rich, what he calls entitled white men. And everybody now on the left seems that they are pointing their finger and condemning in a racist tone white men like you, like me, that have worked hard all their lives, have something maybe to fall back on and enjoy in their later years, but we are being condemned as rich, dirty, old white men. And why is this happening?
That's the curious, and you all know I started out as a teacher, a math and science teacher. I worked my tail feathers off Michigan State University to become a graduate of that college, of that university. I then worked my tail feathers off to become a postgraduate degree. I served in the United States Army as an officer, and then my teaching career, I worked like a dog as a long-haul trucker for United Van Lines. I did not have one privilege in this entire world. I'm a Michigan farm boy, for heaven's sakes, from a very poor family. So I don't have any white privilege. I worked my butt off, and for this bunch of baloney about white privilege, every person in this country has the honor to work and choose the work that they work.
That's right.
I finally became a writer after my truck driving days were over and after my teaching days were over. I have not had one day of white privilege. So this facade, this erroneous call for white privilege is ridiculous. It's absurd. And so I'll stand up with anybody in a debate, whatever these guys are. And last week I saw one lady marching in Washington. She says, we must defeat white privilege by killing all white males.
Yes.
That was on a sign, for heaven's sake. Are we so bent out of shape in this country that we don't understand the value of each person, no matter what their race, creed, or color, and that all of us have to work in order to make this society function? And so forget the white privilege. It has nothing to do with contributing to this society. You work at the job you work at. You be thankful for the job that you work at. You hope for a living wage because it's a legal job with a legal citizen working it, and that you get to live the American dream. Do I make sense here, Seb?
No, no, you certainly make sense. I mean, I'm going with a negative to a positive. You're absolutely making sense. I am extremely frustrated at those in our audience, and I've had some complaints on emails. Oh, well, you're just white privileged. Oh, well, you've got this, Zeb Bell. Oh, well, you've got this. Well, I've earned it. I have worked my entire life since I was 14 years of age. I don't care what the color of my skin is. I don't care what the color of their skin is. If you want to work, you can succeed if you'll use the talents that God gave you. But I am sick and tired of these racist comments. Oh, you're a rich, entitled white male. I'm entitled because I've worked my butt off for it. They didn't.
That's exactly correct. If you don't complete your high school, if you refuse to study and work hard, if you, like in Detroit, African Americans have an 80% flunk-out dropout rate. In Chicago, it's pretty much the same. You get to have a free education paid for by my tax dollars, and you get to go K through 12, and you get to learn how to write and to read, perform math, learn science, learn zoology, learn calculus, learn biology, and you get to learn journalism and English. You get to become a functioning person in the society if you simply do your homework, pass your grade, your tests, and become a high school graduate. But guess what? 70-80% of American inner-city youth are not doing that. Well, what do you expect is going to happen to you?
Yeah.
You're sitting there and you're watching the world go by, and you're not going to become a part of it simply because you drop out of school. Well, what do you think's going to happen, for God's sakes? What are your options? Drugs? Gangs? I'm sorry, that's not going to work in this society. You have to become educated. You must, and I do mean you must, complete a high school education. And I know for minorities there are unbelievable opportunities for higher education and vocational tech schools, and yet you're not seeing that happen, and that's why you're seeing 7 out of 10 African American children are born out of wedlock with a single mother who's on welfare. That needs to change, and that is the black community needs to start working on that, because it is obviously a black community problem that needs to be addressed by the black leaders of America, because obviously we're not able to help it right now ourselves, and so we're literally at a standstill on that.
I got to run, but I want to tell you something. We're going to continue this. I'm going to take a much more, as if I didn't already, a much more proactive and in-your-face attitude on some of these subjects, because, Frosty, being the Joe Good guy does not cut the cake. The jackknife is dull, and it's about time we sharpened it.
I will sharpen it with you, because you and I are going to remain steadfastly a rational voice, 2 rational voices in the United States that are telling it like it is, who are standing up for America and all American citizens, legal American citizens, and that we need to move together, whatever our race, creed, or color, as American citizens, to bring our society back from the brink and move it toward a society that treats everyone with honor, everyone with respect, and everyone that has the ability to educate themselves in the educational system, and then gain a job, and then gain a family, and then gain a history of a pursuit of literally happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I stand for. That's what you stand for. And I'm going to do head on with you. We're going to get out there. We're going to be the rational voice of America with these interviews each week. Zeb, I'm with you 100%.
Frosty Woldridge, my dear, dear friend back in Golden, Colorado. Stay tough, my friend. We'll see you next Tuesday, and thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
God bless. Let's right now talk to you a little bit about, let me see, where am I at right here? Oh, I want to talk to you about having some fun outside. Now, I say that on a day that's kind of wet out there. Well, there's better days coming with sunshine. Don't worry. Don't forget about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. All your ATVs. I don't know how they crammed all those machines into that showroom floor. Whoa! Somebody really is a good parking manager. And then also all the snowmobiles. I mean, this place, Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert, is definitely where the fun is sold. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Great accessory department and a super service department to keep you running and enjoying the great outdoors. Stop in today and see Nick and Randy and the entire staff at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World. And while you're over in that area, you might call first and make an appointment, because I'll tell you what, I know some people that can really help you with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more. Who am I talking about? Well, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. A simple telephone call will make an appointment, and they can serve you. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, to folks that are really dedicated and accessible to helping you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good folks. I just received a call a little bit ago, and our guest at 10:30 this morning is not going to be on the air with us this morning. My dear friend Jack Euler, and I'm just going to say this, folks. Jack and his wife, they've had some health problems, and I want you to do me a favor. Please keep them in your prayers. My dear friends, Jack Euler and his wife, thank you very much. Ramsey Heating and Electric, don't forget they offer Lennox products and great service. Absolutely. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. All you need to do is call them today at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric, over 60 years of service to you. Right now, we're going to do the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by our dear friends. Boy, they know all about taxes and bookkeeping services and tax planning and financial statement preparation. I'm talking about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And if you have questions about the new tax rates or deductions, both the new deductions and the changing of the old deductions, you'd better get a hold of them today for you, your family, and your business. The very best serving you with offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Wonder Woman with the weather.
Expect rain showers in the forecast for pretty much the entirety of today and tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast for us up at the ranch. Rain showers, 90% chance as we move through today. Winds out of the west, right around 9 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 50. Tonight, those rain showers are going to continue with a low of 37. By tomorrow, a chance of rain showers off and on throughout the day. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 48. 20% chance of showers by tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to Thursday, 20% chance of showers in the morning hours. Partly sunny skies by the afternoon, expecting a high of 52 with an overnight low of 29. And by Friday, sunny and 56. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, I appreciate it, and brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And believe me, if you have a business or you're starting up maybe a partnership or a corporation, or you want questions answered about various taxation, tax rates, deductions, please call the best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Make an appointment with offices in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, I get a chance to visit with, I haven't known this gentleman for a long time, but I consider him a very, very dear friend, and he helped guide me to a brand spanking new John Deere tractor, and I love it. I'm talking to Vic at Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland and Burley. Vic, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Wet.
Good weather for ducks.
You know what, though? A little respite right now, kind of a regroup and rethink and then go out and retry attitude. Harvest season has been going along, and the guys are just burning the candle at both ends, trying to get the spuds out and the beets and everything. Maybe a day or two, maybe to sit back and regather might not be such a bad thing.
You know, our farmers and ranchers and dairymen work very hard every day of the year, but yeah, this is very hectic, and I think they do deserve a little rest and a little break, and we try to, like you say, try to make their life easier, and we try to give them all the support we can and whatever their needs are.
You know, the thing I enjoy talking about John Deere and about what's happening at Stoats Equipment Company, you're always so positive, but that positive attitude is permeated through all the people that work there. I just think that we should start featuring some little personality profiles on some of these great folks. I mean, man alive, everybody I've talked to over there has been so helpful and so service-oriented.
Well, I think a lot of customers have, when I first came here 2 years ago, believe it or not, it's already been over 2 years in August of 2017, and, 2016, and when we took over, I had some customers ask me, say, well, what's changed? You have the same people working there. I said, the only thing changed is the attitude and the culture. Is just because we've allowed them to do what they do best, and that's take care of our customers. We give them the resources and the tools and support them and just turn them loose. So I'm not a micromanager by any means, but I do expect the very best for our customers, and we strive for excellence, and we're still not there. And like I tell the guys, on a V8, we're about hitting about 6 cylinders, so we still got a couple more pistons to get firing, but we're getting there every day, and it's the people that we have and the attitudes and the willingness to provide great customer service to our customers that makes a difference.
What would you tell people, Vic, that honestly, maybe they're first-time farmers, maybe they run a small horse operation, maybe they need some John Deere lawn and garden equipment, whatever the case might be. What would you tell them about Stoats Equipment, and why should they go to see you?
Well, I think it's a great question, because I have a lot of people, and this is not just customers but new hires. If you're gonna put your career somewhere instead of just a job, you need to make sure it's something that has stability, that's going to take care of the customer, take care of you. So that's one of the core values that we stand for is quality, integrity, loyalty, caring, and community. So those are our core values, and that's what our company tries to dictate and also to represent every day. I think we've been around since 1947, but if you look back to as far as the roots with John Deere, all the way back to the early 1900s, as Mr. Elder actually worked for John Deere itself. So they've been around a long time, and the stability and taking care of the customer and employees is probably the top notch, and as far as I'm concerned, in this industry. And I've been with this company 31 years.
31 years. Man, oh man, you've got something special coming up in November, and I want you to highlight it a little bit. It's called John Deere Days. What do you mean, John Deere Days?
Well, John Deere is definitely an icon, and people love all of the hats and clothes and anything to do with John Deere, just the name and just the legend of John Deere itself, going back since the very beginning of that. Mr. John Deere actually started with a plow, so there's so much history and so much stability there. And I guess the biggest thing, I think, the difference that we make, or John Deere makes, is the innovation. They're constantly striving to raise that bar, just like our corporation, our company. We never accept status quo. We are constantly raising that bar of expectations from our customers for great customer service. So we're constantly trying to do that. But I think that we try to offer a little bit of everything to the customer, that's as far as quality and things that would benefit the customer for them and their operations, and make it easier for them, or more value. And that's what we try to demonstrate every day, is the value.
When John Deere Days, you mentioned this last program a week ago that it's coming up in November. Is there any other information you'd like to share with us on that?
Sure, absolutely. So you can go onto our website, to stoatsequipment.com, and look at it. But basically, the month of November is going to be John Deere Days for all of our customers, so they can come in. There's going to be special discounts and different sales advantages for them to take advantage of, because we're trying to give back to our customers because this is harvest season, and once harvest season over in November, we're trying to give everybody back a little break and say, hey, here, have this jacket on us with a discount, have this toy on us on a discount, have a Traeger or a Yeti cooler on a discount. But basically everything will be discounted in our store. And we're trying to help our customers and tell them thank you. And the other thing we do is that we're going to have a big dinner for John Deere Days. And the old, if people have never been around John Deere Days, but basically you would see a film from John Deere, you have the representative from John Deere telling about all the new products coming out, the innovation going along, and then we also will talk a little bit about our representatives from our company, a little bit about our company and how it was established and what we're doing. And ultimately the best question is, what can we do better?
You know, and the nice thing about you and Stoats Equipment Company and the way you develop in the community, you're really trying to be an asset in the community and help other people, aren't you?
Well, I try. I always tell everybody, when you first get here, it's kind of like the Baptist church I joined back home, and they found out that you're a doer, and next thing you know, you're in charge of about 20 things. So you have to decipher what's best. And I always tell them, hey, I'm only going to participate if I can add value, because I am involved with the Wilson Theater. I'm on the Minnecaja Chamber, and I'm also with the School Advisory Board locally. And those are things that are all important to me, which is education, our community, and then also just giving our area a place to go for quality entertainment. This is the Wilson Theater. It's a beautiful building. If you've never been there, we now have a stereo system and a movie drop down, and we have all the information and stuff on the website for Wilson Theater. But if you've never been there during Christmas time or any of the other events that we have, you're missing out, because there's a lot of quality people there, and Chris Fox does a great job, and you can contact her anytime.
You know, Vic, I always enjoy talking to you because it's an enlightening and uplifting experience every week. We're talking to Vic at Stoats Equipment Company at 119 Overland in Burley, your John Deere dealer, and it's true, they do make your life easier. Vic, God bless, man. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
You too, Zeb. Stay dry.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Good guy. Really, the whole operation, really good people. I'm just really fortunate to know them. Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer. Oh, let's see. Now, we've got a couple of things that are changing. This next half hour, our dear friend Dr. History is not going to be on the program today, but we lined up a gentleman that has been on the show before, and his name is John Hagedorn, and he's back in New York, the state of New York. And he does blogs on the Old West and everything, and he's done a couple of personality profiles on some of the old Western heroes and some of the bad guys, and I believe that he's going to be talking about Billy the Kid this next half hour, so it's going to be really interesting. And then, like I mentioned, we had Jack Euler all lined up to come on and talk about the grizzly situation and the wolf situation, etc., and the sage grouse. But Jack is not able, because of some health problems this morning, to come on our program at 10:30. So we're going to have kind of a open forum at 10:30 this morning, and I'd appreciate all your phone calls. I want to remind you, too, about our dear friends, and that's, of course, at Dino's Septic Service. Oh, my goodness sakes. You know, they're all over the valley, and they've recently expanded to serve you, better serve you, and they're urging people that need septic tanks pumped out. Remember, let's get all that done before the ground freezes over. Septic tanks pumped and septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, all of this and more with Dino's Septic Service. Please give them a call today. Over in the Rupert area, the telephone number 436-6526, and in Burley, 678-1638. I'm talking about a company and people that really care, and they do the job that you and I don't want to do. Dino's Septic Service. You get a hold of them today, and remember, they'll drive in your yard with that great big truck that says, "Smells Cargo on the way." Dino's Septic Service, serving you. Right now, let's send it back to Old Wheels at our major studio, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Well, good morning on a Tuesday, October the 9th, Zeb at the Ranch, and thank you for staying tuned to the program. Of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and they've got a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And also a big thank you to some of our fantastic advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have our guest on the air in just a moment, but right now I want to remind you again, Ramsey Heating and Electric, very proud to offer service you can trust, along with Lennox products to help keep you comfortable. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. Call them today and find out more. 678-0459. And don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley with Lennox. Over 60 years of serving you. You know, we have a gentleman on the air this morning that's going to step in and fill the boots of Dr. History, and his name is John Hagedorn from back in New York State. Good morning, John. How are you?
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Jim.
John, how are you this morning? Speak up a little bit so I can hear you.
I'll turn up my volume. Let's see if that works.
All right, let's get this all meshed together because we're burning daylight. John, let me start off by saying this. You have been a student of a lot of Western history and some of the icons of the Old West, including some of the bad guys, and that's Billy the Kid. What do you know about Billy the Kid that you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, I'd love to share the story of Billy the Kid. Can you hear me okay now? Is the level okay?
You're all right. Just go ahead.
All right. And, Zeb, it's great to be on your show. Thank you. With regard to Billy the Kid, there's been a fantastic number of movies and books written and done about him. He's quite a character of the Old West. For a guy who only lived to age 21, he cut himself quite a trail out there in the New Mexico area. I had first heard his stories that my dad told me. My dad had grown up in a ranch up in the Four Corners area, and that ranch was part of the Maxwell land grant, and it was right on the Santa Fe Trail. And Maxwell ended up marrying into a large Mexican family and ended up inheriting about 3 million acres, which became New Mexico. And that was a territory during the time of Billy the Kid. It hadn't reached statehood yet. And the biggest dollar crop out there was beef, livestock. And there were a lot of guys like John Chisholm who were fighting to hold as much as they could and sell as much as they could, especially to the government. And then when the railroads came, to the railroads. There were good guys doing it, and there were bad guys doing it. And Billy the Kid, who was an orphaned kid at age 13, kind of had to raise himself, came up into New Mexico and earned the reputation of an outlaw, sort of unfairly. He had hung out when he got to his teenage years. He was pretty much alone. He was living in a boarding house and working for the lady who owned that. And he got into trouble. He had some bad friends. One friend stuck him with a bunch of stolen laundry, believe it or not. And the next morning they came looking for the laundry, and there it was in Billy the Kid's room. So the police picked him up and said, "You're going to jail for stealing laundry." He said, "I didn't do it." And that's kind of where it started with him. And for the few years from the time he was about 15 to 21, those 6 years, he was on his own. He had a record, and every time anyone was near him, people seemed to die. So he got a reputation as a killer, and he was a killer. It turned out he was very fast with a gun. He was good with a rifle and fast with a 6-gun, and he did his share of killing, mostly in self-defense.
I'll go with a question here because I don't want to talk you to death.
All right, John, let me ask you this. His real name was William Bonney, and there are limited photographs and really limited information about this young man. But he really, in some ways of the history that I've read, was pushed, if you will, into being an outlaw. Would you agree or disagree with that, and then explain?
I would agree with that very much, that he was pushed into being an outlaw. And his real name, at least according to the Pulitzer Prize winning author James D. Horan, was Henry McCarthy.
Really?
And then, of course, he did take on a lot of other names and a lot of aliases, but that apparently was his birth name up in New York. And as to being pushed into being an outlaw, he was befriended by an Englishman who came into the county named Tunstall. And Tunstall was a good man, and he hired Billy, and he made him an assistant foreman on his ranch. And Tunstall was an honest guy, and he had come to set up a general store to compete with another store which was called Murphy's. Murphy and Dolan were part of a ring that extended all the way to Santa Fe and was headed up by a very powerful politician named Catrone, C-A-T-R-O-N. And this guy Catrone had all of that county, had all of Lincoln County pretty much under his thumb. He had the police he had the sheriff on the payroll. He had killers on the payroll. He had the only general store in the area, so they were charging exorbitant prices. And if anybody kicked up any dust about it, they would either be killed or be forced to move. It was a rotten situation in Lincoln County. And when Tunstall came in and started the store, it got Catrone and what they called the Santa Fe Ring, and also connected with Murphy and Dolan and their hired guns. They came and killed Tunstall. And when they killed Tunstall, Billy was there. And that's what brought him into the conflict, and that's what really turned him into the outlaw that he's known to be now.
John, let me interrupt you right there and ask you, at this juncture, did Hollywood, in the movies that they've portrayed Billy the Kid and the books, etc., did they really, at that point when Tunstall was killed, did Billy start and form what was called the Regulators? How did that all come into being?
Yeah, when Tunstall was killed, his very close partner, McSweeney, I think it is, started the Regulators. When Tunstall was killed, the rancher community was enraged. They were mad. They were hurt. And they met at Tunstall's general store in the back. And McSweeney, that was Tunstall's close friend, he had come over from England with him. And that's when they formed the Regulators, because no matter what direction they turned, they were getting served warrants by crooked sheriffs. They were under a lot of pressure. Tunstall was killed. Other people were starting to get killed, and they realized the only way they were going to stay in one piece was to form their own law. And that's exactly what the Regulators were. That gave them, that basically was their vigilante committee, but it was their law, and that's the only way they knew they could fight back.
Well, let me ask you this question then. John, why weren't the law enforcement officers from other areas or other counties notified? What about the governor of New Mexico? Why did this thing have to blow so far out of hand?
Well, that's just it. The governor of New Mexico was on the payroll too. His name was Axtell, and he was very closely tied at the hip with Catrone, and they had a lot of power. Catrone was the top attorney in the territory of New Mexico. Axtell had the rest of the power, and between them, they controlled all the counties, all the courts, all the law. There were guys who tried to stand up to it. Your deputy sheriffs, some of those guys who were honest, but for the most part, there wasn't a move you could make legally, and nobody from any other county was going to step in and help.
What about Billy and the regulators and Billy the Kid going after and becoming such a heinous killer? Why did all this take such a circle of death and mayhem that Billy the Kid was in the middle of? What was he trying to prove? Who was he trying to protect?
Well, what happened was that the situation happened. McSween had a house there in Lincoln, and now that McSween had formed the regulators, the local law was after McSween. So they literally came into Lincoln and demanded to arrest him, had him an arrest warrant. And so he's in his house. He's got his wife. He's got their kids. You got Billy the Kid in there. They'd already had a shooting confrontation in the town. That ended up killing the sheriff of the town, not knowing who fired the actual shot. Billy the Kid got blamed for it. So after the shooting confrontation, they came to arrest McSween, and McSween was saying he wasn't going to turn himself in. He'd done nothing wrong. He hadn't killed anybody. So then they called in the 9th Cavalry, and the cavalry responded, came into town with a Gatling gun and a cannon, and said they were going to blow the house down if McSween didn't surrender. And at that point, they tried to fire the house, and now the house is on fire. So Mrs. McSween had gone into the federal encampment, the 9th Cavalry, talked to this guy Dolan, who was the commander of that thing. He was drunk, and he pretty much sent her packing back to her house. By the time she got back to her house, it was fully on fire. Billy was in there. McSween was in there. A young attorney who was practicing under McSween was in there. They all made a run for it. McSween and the attorney were shot dead. Mm-hmm. So now she'd seen her husband shot. That's what really fired everything up. Again, this wasn't something that Billy had started. This wasn't something that I never, in all the studies I did on him, I never saw where he had really murdered anybody who hadn't been there first, who was trying to murder the people that he befriended and knew.
Yeah. Now,
or to save his own skin when he was in jail, and they were building the scaffolding outside, and he was going to hang in 2 days for something he didn't do. He did kill a sheriff and deputy trying to escape.
Okay. Now, how close was history and how close have been some of the depictions from Hollywood? It sounds like this house of McSween's that was set on fire is exactly what they portrayed in the movie Young Guns 2. How close did Hollywood really portray what Billy the Kid was?
I got to be honest. I've never seen a Hollywood film on Billy the Kid. So I can't answer that. I can tell you, I'll bet a lot of your listeners have seen there's only one picture of Billy the Kid out there. This isn't Hollywood, but it's a photograph.
Right.
And the photograph shows him standing with a Winchester, and it makes him look kind of like a buck-toothed idiot.
Yes.
And according to real history, he was no buck-toothed idiot. A lot of the girls he befriended and danced with in the town where he finally got out of Lincoln County and went to the next county, but still didn't cross into the Mexican border. A lot of the Mexican women loved him. They said he was a good dancer and a good man, an honest man, and he was a good-looking guy. He was a kid. He was a young kid, 135 pounds, 5'7". Mm-hmm. So not a big guy.
Well, now, John, let's go ahead a little bit on this, if we may, and let's talk about the supposed shooting of Billy the Kid by Pat Garrett. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and ask you if you really believe that's where Billy the Kid met his demise. I've got my doubts. Convince me one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the name of the town. Fort Sumner. Fort Sumner in New Mexico. That's where Pat Garrett was given a tip, probably by Pete Maxwell, who was living there. And apparently Pete Maxwell had a very close girl he liked a lot, and this girl was also spending time with Billy. So the word on the street is that Maxwell gave gave Garrett the tip. And it kind of makes sense because Garrett showed up at midnight outside of Maxwell's place. And Billy the Kid was not there yet, but he was on his way there. And that's when Billy the Kid went into the room. Pat Garrett was already in the room. Maxwell indicated that that was Billy the Kid, and it was all dark. But that's when Garrett put one in Billy's chest, and that killed him. Now, the story for years has been that because Garrett knew Billy prior to his becoming a sheriff and liked Billy, they hung out together for a long time. That Garrett had killed another man and made it all look like it was Billy the Kid. I don't believe so. I believe it was Billy. And the key to me was I had told you that Billy had spent a lot of time there at Fort Sumner, as a matter of fact, with a lot of his Mexican friends and women, and an old lady named Delubina, who loved Billy. She would cook him great meals. She just took this kid under her wing. She would find girls for him to meet and just to help him through society with dancing and everything else, we can assume. And Delubina loved him. And some stories say that she was there that night when they had a wake for Billy. The truth is she said she wasn't, but she did see him the next morning dead. And if Delubina said it, she wouldn't have lied. She would have had to have had Pat Garrett convince her not to say anything. But there was a parade of the locals there that viewed him. Delubina was one. She said she did see him, and she saw his body lying there. So all the stories about these other guys, Brushy Bill, and all these other people claiming to be Billy the Kid, I don't believe.
You know, history is sometimes a very fickle item to try to figure out the truth or to try to figure out fiction. And when you talk about the Old West, whether it's Billy the Kid or whether it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or any of the Old West heroes or villains, Wild Bill Hickok, etc., how in the world can you really discern what was true and what was fantasy?
You have to go to writers like Horan, Horan, guys who spend a good portion of their lives researching letters, researching courtroom testimony, researching affidavits. These guys, these are the types of authors that can really get you the right information and dig out a lot of the truths. It's funny. I went to you go to places on Google. One of them, a great information provider, is Wikipedia, but you find out that Wikipedia isn't always accurate. They took this guy, Thomas Catrone, on Wikipedia, and I swear somebody has whitewashed that to to make Tom Catrone look like the hero of New Mexico, when indeed he wasn't at all. You really have to research and study, especially with your good operas, the guys who are known to be good historians and who specialize on those topics.
John, we're about out of time on this.
By James D. Horan, called The Gunfighters. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, there's so many things that we discuss on this program, and I try to remain as close to fact as I can and not fiction. But Billy the Kid is just one of the so-called dime novels that have been in front of the public for years, and whether or not he was shot and killed by Pat Garrett, etc. But the real thing about Billy the Kid that intrigues me and somewhat makes me sad is here was a young man that honestly he could have been a real attribute to some of the society in New Mexico, but society and some of the bad people in power in New Mexico pushed Billy the Kid to be an outlaw. Would you agree with that synopsis?
Oh, I would agree so much. He also turned state's evidence on the Santa Fe ring, because after McSween was killed, Billy held more information than anybody else. The president authorized a special agent to go into there to investigate, and the first two people he talked to was Billy the Kid and Mrs. McSween. And this guy's name was Angel. And Angel provided, it was like 100,000 words of testimony against the lawless politicians from Santa Fe to Lincoln County. And Billy the Kid was a huge part of gathering all that information. And how Catrone never saw imprisonment or never saw the rope, I have no idea. But they had the goods on him thanks to that agent.
John, what about the rest?
We'll talk about later some of the killings that Catrone and his people hired.
Yeah. What about the associates or the gang members, if you will, of Billy the Kid, the regulators? Do we have any history on what happened to them? Did they go to prison? Were some of them shot and killed? Were some hung? What happened to some of his associates?
Tom O'Folliard was a Texan, one of Billy's closest friends. He was shot when Billy was cornered at one point. They were getting close to catching him, and there were 4 of them on horseback. And these guys, as soon as they came around the bend, O'Folliard went for his gun, and they shot him dead. Some of the guys left for other areas when things started to get pretty tense. Pretty much when the regulators broke up, guys scattered in different directions. O'Folliard stayed with Billy. One guy named Brewer was killed in a shootout as they were cornering some of the killers of Tunstall and others, and Chapman. But I think the last guy with Billy that I can recall was O'Folliard.
Okay, final question on this, John, and then I've got to let you go. I'm almost out of time. But real quick, tell us, what was the final straw in what happened in New Mexico to finally bring law and order to that area? What happened to finally get rid of the bad guys?
I read a number of accounts that said that the crooked politicians stayed in Santa Fe for 100 years. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. I'm sure that it's the most wonderful, cleanest, well-run city in the world right now. But as far as I know, none of these guys were ever... none of these guys on the crooked side were ever... they never saw justice.
I see.
Things just kind of worked themselves out. I think the government got a little too close to them, and I think they might have split up and their operations kind of ended. But I never heard about any of them catching any jail time.
All right. Well, listen, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your filling in for Doctored History. John Hagedorn back in New York, and John, tell us quickly about your blog, all the blogs that you put together.
Yeah, and it's Virginia, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Virginian. That's all right. And I do a podcast, a couple of podcasts, but the one that concerns a lot of history and Western history is called 1001 Heroes, Legends, Histories, and Mysteries. A podcast is an audio show, and I do a weekly show. And if you don't know what a podcast is, you can listen to my shows at www.1001storiespodcast.com. And that'll get you to the 4 shows that I do. All in one place.
Absolutely. John Hagedorn, God bless you, man, and please stay in touch because there's other things I want to talk to you about. I appreciate your time this morning, and have a wonderful day back there in Virginia. Thank you very much.
Zip, thank you. Great to be on your show.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you very, very much. Want to remind everybody that on Thursdays we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days. And, of course, we have our major sponsor for that at 10:10 on Thursdays, A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. All the clothing, the new fall clothing, and the winter coats and everything. And, of course, don't forget for comfy, Cherokee scrubs. Oh, they've got them all. They've got all the baby furniture. They've got all the toys, the puzzles, the games, everything a family store at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, bringing you Cassia County School Days at 10:10 on Thursdays right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to take a little break right now and then come back, and it's going to be an open forum right after this break at the bottom of the hour. You are more than welcome to call and share anything you want to with us, so give us a call. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you, and welcome back. And I want to get into a topic in just a moment that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And I don't know if they're afraid or timid or what, but we're going to talk about supposedly what is, now help me on this one, what is toxic male masculinity and what is being rich, entitled white men? What does that mean? Help me. I need your definitions. While I'm waiting for your calls, I also want to urge you to remember the great, great folks at Syringa Plaza. What is Syringa Plaza? What does it do? It's a wonderful, affordable senior community right there in Burley, Idaho. Absolutely. It serves low-income seniors who maintain an independent living status with or without assistance. You know, they offer so much, bedroom apartments and kitchens with electric ranges, refrigerators, emergency call system, ample community space, all of this and more for you seniors at Syringa Plaza. Please call the number and find out more, 677-4204. That number again, 677-4204, and they're located at 626 Elba Avenue in Burley, Syringa Plaza. You stop by or give them a call today. All right, answer that question for me, will you? Because every day in the news, there is more about white privilege. There is more racism talk against Caucasians. Oh, you're just a rich, entitled white man. Why in the world? And whites, Caucasians, are doing the anti-verbiage against them. I don't understand. Like I mentioned earlier in this morning's program, billionaire, multi-billionaire Tom Steyer's absolutely coming out as a spokesman on the left against rich, which is like the pot calling the kettle black, rich, entitled white men. Where do they come up with this? What does it mean? Rich, entitled white men, slamming white men. Crazed Muslim agitator Linda Sarsour coming out in a speech yesterday about white, entitled white men. What is that? And explain to me also, what is the terminology in your viewpoint of toxic male masculinity? You know, these are a couple of terms that the left likes to throw around. What possibly could be toxic male masculinity? Is it trying to act like a man, be a man, opening a door, saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, being polite? What is toxic male masculinity in your opinion? Somebody call me on this, please. I know these are kind of naive questions, but it's kind of a naive statement. Male masculinity, toxic? What does that mean? What does it mean, rich, entitled white men? Are they going to denigrate somebody that's worked hard all their life? Maybe they've been in the banking industry. They started off as a teller. Now they're the president of the bank. What does it mean? You went to law school, you studied like crazy and became an affluent lawyer. Is that being a rich, entitled white man? What is it? Somebody please call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. All these terminologies, all these ill feelings of bad will towards whites, Caucasians, you and me. Why? What have we done wrong? Why are we in the spotlight? Why are we in the target of being condemned? Somebody's got to have a reason out there. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to remind you also about a Halloween happening, and that's the Four Paws annual Halloween party on Saturday, October 20th for all your dogs and pets. I'm telling you what, this is great. Free pictures with your pet. There's going to be a lot of great food. They're going to have a costume parade at 12 noon for the pets and the families. Lots of prizes. And it's all at Four Paws. Absolutely a great place. 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. Don't forget, call the number for more information. 438-4444. Four Paws Bed and Bath. Don't forget, they're great. Halloween party on Saturday, October 20th from 11 until 2. All right, give me a call on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Being a white male, and now an elderly white male, I guess that I can be condemned for my achievements and what they would say my entitlements. What are they? I mean, I just do not understand people of any race, of any ethnicity, why if you're successful, why if you've worked hard, why if you've achieved something, are you discriminated against? But today, the whites, the Caucasians, are the ones that are put in the racist target. Why? Somebody call me and explain that to me. Or I'd like to hear from a lady out there in the audience that would please explain to me what toxic male masculinity is. What in the world is the definition? Somebody give me a call on that, 436-2244. Good morning, caller. Open my ears and my mind because I have no clue what we're getting into. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zeb, I sorry to hear you're one of them white racist people. I thought you were just an ordinary person.
I did too.
I kind of feel that's what I am. And you know, all of us have the same color blood. I guess I'm just an American. I plan on dying an American and staying an American. I don't have any desire to be anything else.
Well, Jerry, let me ask you this. What in the world, you and Rose, I'm certain you probably talk about this, but what could be construed as white, toxic, male masculinity? What in the world are you and I and others doing so wrong that it's toxic? You got to explain that to me.
Well, it's probably the fact that I have faith in my country and in my God, and I believe that I'm not always wrong.
And on the other side of that coin, would you explain to me what in the world you did personally, or I did, to be called an entitled white man?
I don't know. I've worked since I was a little kid. I can't even remember how old I was when I started, because I don't ever remember not having a job.
That's me too.
And that's all my life. Even when I was 5 and 6 years old, I was out digging potatoes and, you know, picking potatoes off the ground with a sack between my legs. When I'd get it full enough, I couldn't pull it. Mom would take it, and when it got so full she couldn't take it, Dad would take it.
Yeah.
We'd fill it up. We worked there side by side all our lives, whether it was hoeing beets or picking fruit from the trees or, you know, out plowing the field or picking up rocks and stacking them up around the side so we didn't break our plows and arrows. And it just seems to me like I've worked all my life.
Well, and myself also.
Remember a time I wasn't milking a cow or doing something.
I agree with you, Jerry, and I certainly appreciate your remarks, but I just absolutely don't know why white males in particular are under attack in this country with this so-called toxic white masculinity, and why we're being condemned the way we are. I'd sure like somebody to explain this to me, because we're being hit with a racist attack, and I can't find any justification.
Yeah, and I got to bring something up, too, before we get off the air here. That guy that got on the radio yesterday and attacked me, I cannot understand how he could even start to attack me when he's so scared of a beautiful young lady might come in a wonderful costume like Wonder Woman and beat him.
Well,
if you can't beat Wonder Woman, there's something the matter with you.
I tell you what, we're going to have a lot of fun at that Halloween costume party on the 25th at our lunch bunch. Jerry, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much, and we'll find out more about what you're going to be wearing, what he's going to be wearing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for your call.
Boy, I'm telling you, it's going to be scary. And you know what really scares me is the outfit my bride's coming in.
All right, Jerry. God bless you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, may the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
He already has. Thank you very much. I tell you what, entitled white men. I want some more entitled white men to call me and explain what in the world does this mean. And it's growing. It's growing like a cancer, and it's being perpetrated. This is the part that's crazy. It's being perpetrated by white individuals like billionaire Tom Steyer, or female Joy Behar on The View, or that crazed Muslim agitator Linda Sarsour condemning white men. This thing is going to turn into a race war, and it started in the liberal camp. What is going on here? Somebody help me. White males under attack, or they're condemning all Caucasians, and I just like to know why. What is going on? Why do we have this verbiage condemning the white race? What have we done wrong other than lead our country? And the numbers are there, but why? Why are we so opposed to saying congratulations to the people that founded our country? The George Washingtons, Thomas Jeffersons, the Benjamin Franklins. The list goes on and on. There's no fault of theirs for being a certain race to help guide and form this country that 250 years ago started with their blood, sweat, and tears, and now we're supposed to be ashamed of that? Somebody call me and explain that to me. While I'm waiting for your calls, I would really appreciate hearing from you. I'd like to do a weather forecast real quick, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow. I got to call him, and I got to say, hey, Don, come by for a visit sometime. And when you do, bring some bratwurst. I love their bratwurst, really good. Don Scarrow and Scarro's Meats. And you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, or give them a call at 324-7657. Wonderful, wonderful meats from Scarro's Meats. And right now, here's the weather.
Expect rain showers in the forecast for pretty much the entirety of today and tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast for us up at the ranch. Rain showers, 90% chance as we move through today. Winds out of the west, right around 9 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 50. Tonight, those rain showers are going to continue with a low of 37. By tomorrow, a chance of rain showers off and on throughout the day. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 48. 20% chance of showers by tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to Thursday, 20% chance of showers in the morning hours. Partly sunny skies by the afternoon, expecting a high of 52 with an overnight low of 29. And by Friday, sunny and 56. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Gina, thank you. And the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time at Scarro's Meats. Caller, good morning. Help me. I'm completely confused this morning.
Okay, it's because they can. You know, nobody says they can't. Well, not anybody with a strong voice. And so they're pushing the envelope as far as they can. And I don't know who will stop them. We live in such a sheltered area right now that, you know, it's hard for us to even get a hold of somebody to do something.
Well, let me ask you this, Keith. Keith, let me ask you this. There's been a lot of black men in our history that have been very successful, and they've made their mark in the business world. They've made their mark being excellent attorneys. They've made their mark in the sports world. They've made their mark in the political world. Why aren't they called entitled black men?
I don't know, but it goes back to that what Obama said, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
I run a business for 38 years without his help, and I got along just fine, but I had my ups and downs now and then. Never did I ever have the government step in and say, do you need some help? No, I had to figure it out for myself. But now they're calling us privileged white men.
Yeah.
Yes, we are privileged because, like you took any kind of obstructions or anything and set them aside as far as you're concerned, health issues or whatever, and you made something of yourself. Now, are we going to condemn somebody like you
Yeah, that's just the part, really, I thank you for your kind words. But, you and I are both made out of the same cloth. We both started on our own. We both looked over the horizon and said, if we're going to succeed, we're going to have to do it on our own. I didn't have a silver spoon handed to me, nor did you. And I'm sick and tired of the phraseology that's going out in the world today, entitled white men, or this other absolutely asinine, stupid statement about white toxic male masculinity. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. If being toxic is saying to a lady, yes ma'am or no ma'am, if being toxic is holding a door for a lady to go through, then I'm going to continue to be a toxic male.
Yes, and I can remember back in the 70s when I had a lady handling my account at the bank. And she was a wonderful person. But it wasn't really all that acceptable at the time. But she always took good care of me and everything, and kudos to her because she tried to break that glass ceiling, and they did. And now I think these women are asking for more than they're entitled to.
Not all women.
In other words,
not all women, Keith. I don't want to lump everybody into the same bag of coal here, because it seems like the radical left, those that are on the liberal side, they're trying to condemn the white entitled male or create a toxic male masculinity. I don't understand it, and I certainly don't understand why more people, you, me, and others, aren't standing up and saying, you have no clue what you're talking about.
I am standing up and saying that, but who's listening?
Yeah, I hope a lot.
That's what I wondered. Who is listening to our plea to just be able to take care of our families? I've raised a good family just like you have. What is so toxic about that?
Amen. And that's the whole thing. I listened to this idiot, and that's what he is, Tom Stiers, that is a billionaire many, many, many times over, made his money in the energy business, and now he wants us all to go without. And he comes out and condemns rich, entitled white men. What are you talking about? Who are they? Are you condemning our politicians? Are you condemning our business people? Are you condemning our people in society that have worked hard, made money, have a nice house, maybe go boating on the weekend? Why should they be condemned, and why should they be labeled in a racist fashion entitled white men? It could be entitled brown men. It could be entitled black men. Why do we have to hang a race connotation on it?
I don't understand, but here's the one thing that I picked up on the news was that this gal that's running for president, she's actually trying to run for president, but she's a senator from California, and I can't think of what her name is right now. She's not Feinstein.
No.
She's worse. But anyway, she has donated $500,000 to Heidi Heitkamp's campaign.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah. Well, is Heidi Heitkamp a privileged person, or?
Well, the liberals.
Right woman.
Here's the deal, Keith. The liberals right now, they're like a cat. You've seen that poster of a kitten that has one of its paws stuck at the knot of the rope, and that's all that's holding him. And this is where the Democrats are. In my opinion, they are going to resort to anything and everything to try to regain some composure back in our society. I'm going to make a prediction to you, Keith Cottom, and you can agree or disagree, but the way the Democrats are going right now with the filth and the sleaze and the protesting and the damning, I'm going to say that the Democratic Party is going to be lucky. It's going to be lucky to survive 2 more years, and it's going to be lucky to have any candidate or any votes in 2020. They're about ready to shoot themselves in their foot.
I'd like to just give you one more thing that I seen on a commercial for Farmers Insurance. And it showed a car there, and these dogs are jumping all over the car, and here's this cat on top, licking his paws and everything, can't touch him. Now, that's just a good example of trying to get to somebody and you can't.
That's right.
And it destroyed that car, because all the scratches and everything.
Absolutely, but I'll tell you what, that's exactly what the left is doing to this country. They're trying to destroy this country just to get their way and get control. Keith, thank you very much for your call. Always appreciate it. Thank you.
You're always welcome.
All right, sir.
I don't want to thank Deanne for her courtesy call to Nancy the other day when we were out of town.
Well,
so nice of her.
Well, we care about you folks.
A lovely person.
She is a lovely person. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I just do not understand why we're allowing this racism in reverse to take place. I mean, I just don't understand why targeting somebody that's worked hard, somebody that's maybe in their later years, that's enjoying the fruits of their labor, and now they are being targeted and picked at by the left as a rich, entitled white man. We've got to get him. And then the absolutely stupid statements, toxic male masculinity. Nobody can really make good definitions on this. Nobody. But yet the left is out there and very easily throws those headlines at anybody and everybody. Why? We're going to have a little break here, and I'll take time for another phone call. Give me a call. I'd like to say a big thank you to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are our number one sponsor, and we really appreciate them. And they're having a huge, really, really big fall tire sale coming on right now. Lasts all the way through the month of October. You better stop in and check out all the great buys on your car tires, pickup tires, SUV tires, all of this and more right there at all Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And service reigns supreme. I mean, they come out the door to high-low. May we help you? Yes, you can. They've got the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries, all of this and more. Great service from the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Had some people call me yesterday on my cell phone and say, hey, your blog, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, how do we get it? Well, it's real easy. Just go to zebbell.com and you'll see where it's offered, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, on a weekly blog, and give us your address. We'll make sure we get it mailed to you. That comes out once a week, hopefully. I say this with a chuckle, hopefully on Fridays. Sometimes it comes out early on Thursdays, but most of the time it comes out on Saturdays. It just depends on how much time I have and where I'm sitting at the moment. So, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. Then, some folks don't remember that if you're out of the area, you can listen, zebbell.com, the audio, just punch that in and you're set to take us anywhere. And you can also watch us on television. That's why I started dressing up a little bit on the program. We got a lot of people from all over the world tuning in. Hey, that shirt you had on the other day had a ragged old collar on it. So I'm upgrading, sitting in my home studio so I don't look like some homeless person. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we'll ride the horse for 3 hours right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and cover a lot of ground. We got a lot of great guests planned for tomorrow, Dave Bigo and others, talking about various subjects that are going on across the nation and the world at 8:06 to 11. Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning.